Ladies and gentlemen, it is such a pleasure to welcome Joe Thomas, publisher of Spinner Magazine, who I believe is to be applauded as one of this area's greatest contributors to preserving our history, our story. You know, they say the Zeitarian has a great story and they want your stories. You know, Joe Thomas has been collecting stories in various forms and putting that tapestry together, and finally has come out with
Volume 2, New Bedford, a picture history of New Bedford.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Phil. Thanks.
And walking into the studio, I said, what is the word? He said, relieved. Relieved.
It's been a lot of work. We've been 2.5 years on this project, on this one. The first one, since we started the first volume, it's been almost 5 years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is an amazing amount of time.
You know, history ain't easy.
No, it's not.
People think it's, well, I don't know what people think, but, you know, we thought that it was going to be a project that we could do in a year and a half, but it's too much. It's so meticulous, so in-depth, you know, it's so rich and full of information and photographs. And still, you know, this is 700-800 pages we put together between the two books, and we barely scratched the surface.
It's amazing. In this brand new edition, ladies and gentlemen, you are going to see life here from 1925 to 1980.
Yes.
And you started with where?
Well, we start with, in 1925, sort of the end of whaling, because whaling comes to an abrupt end. Well, I don't know how abrupt, but a definitive end in 1925, and fishing is just getting going and is becoming a viable industry of itself. And so that's where we begin in this book. And then, of course, the strike of 28. You know, textile industry peaked in 1925. That was the year of the greatest productivity, both in employment and in production. So 25 was a good year to begin this segment, and then it's a lot of bumps after that.
Sure.
We spent a lot of time on events such as World War II period, the Depression, a lot on the WPA and the Great Depression, the strike of 28, the 38 hurricane. These are events that take place in that first chapter, and then each chapter is sort of broken down into segments of events, infrastructure, when we learn about the city and how it grows in terms of transportation, architecture, and so on. Then we have a third section on people, and a fourth section on entertainment.
Sure.
So that's how we broke this book up, and
there's some awesome photographs in this book.
Yeah.
Really?
There's so much on New Bedford.
You know, how many photographs do you have there in archives?
Well, in our archives, we have probably 1.5 million.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, we have quite. We were discovering as we do this kind of work that we have more than we even think we have. You know, one collection alone from Milton Sylvia's donation to Spinner before he passed away is probably 300,000 or 400,000 pictures just from that one person.
How did he get so many?
Well, Standard Times photographer, and he kept the negatives. The Standard Times.
Gotcha. Right.
Allowed some of the photographers to keep their negatives.
Wow. Yeah.
So Milt, we were very friendly with, and he wanted to leave them to us. It was a wonderful gift, and we're using them for what I think he intended us to do. We're putting them out there and keeping his contributions alive, and we're looking at New Bedford through those journalistic eyes and pictures of people, everyday life, the industry, work. So many pictures of people at work.
Yeah, I'm looking at one of them now. He's a projectionist, and the projector looks like something that a bomb would come out of, like a torpedo. It is the most incredible photograph.
Well, you know, the old projectors, in fact, they would build firewall. You know, the projection rooms themselves were firewalled.
Really?
Because those those projectors, if the film ever got stuck, the nitrate film in particular,
It burned.
they burned, they could even explode. And,
Wow.
you know, could confine the fire. And I remember, Phil, myself, when they were tearing down the Olympia Theater back in the 70s. I was a cab driver in those days, and I remember watching them. In fact, I think it was the Empire, that they could not knock the wall down. Every day when I parked my cab on Elm Street, I would watch the wrecker try to knock the wall down, and every day the hole got bigger and bigger,
Sure.
and they couldn't take it down because the walls themselves were 5-6 feet thick.
Incredible.
But that was to protect them against fire, of which those projectors were prone to.
I'm looking here with Joe Thomas, publisher of Spinner Publications, at the Alvo Aristocratas and Camarades Açorianos band of 1935. Obviously a Cape Verdean band, right?
No, that's Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Yes, in fact, Madeiran, Portuguese.
Oh.
You know, Mel, this book, one thing we did, I'll tell you a little story about the music. Al Saulnier
Wrote most of 99% of the music history that we have in this book, and he did a tremendous amount of research for this, and we really, in this particular chapter we are looking at, look at the influences of the different immigrants on the music scene, and
Sure.
in that case Portuguese, but also Cape Verdean, French and Polish
Yep.
influences in the New Bedford music scene, which was very active. I mean, we had some fantastic musical venues
Yeah.
and bands,
Yes.
going all the way back to the Civil War, before the Civil War, and Al brought it right back to the marching bands of the 20s and 30s.
Now, we have a Phil Edmonds band at the Wamsutta Club here. This is, I'm going to turn this so that our videographer and Ace Morning anchor Dan McCready can get a close-up who's filming us as we speak to you on the radio, folks. This band is filled with so many names that we're still familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, the horn section featured Joseph Livermento, Armando Raposa, Paul Gonzalez, Tootsie Wright on the drums, and Manuel Rose bass, and then Jimmy Barrows on the piano, Mike Silva, Margie Arujo, and Phil Edmonds.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these are names that still are around today.
Well, the Livermento brothers back in the 30s, they were playing music back then and putting together bands, the Monteros.
Yeah.
There's several Cape Verdean families that were very prolific in music going back to the 30s and even the late 20s. And they really made a mark on the local musical culture, really.
Sure.
And the way, and the music that, there is a music that actually comes out of New Bedford that is unique to New Bedford. And it's because of those influences, really, of Portuguese, Cape Verdean, and the different groups.
You know what?
Paul Gonzalez, you
Yeah.
mentioned, had played
Yeah.
with John Coltrane, and he played with Duke Ellington, and he became famous for the solo that he ran off at the Newport Jazz Festival in the early 60s. But he was an important jazz figure.
Now, was Eddie Stack from this area?
Well, Eddie Stack settled here, but he wasn't originally from here. Did you know Eddie Stack?
No, I don't.
Nice
I'm
name.
trying. Yeah, I'm trying to. When was he here?
Well,
Because he looks familiar.
I think he probably came in the 60s, maybe the early 60s. And he, until he passed away.
Which was when? Eddie Stack, great
Well, I
saxophonist.
think he maybe into the 90s.
At least the 80s. Anyway.
His face is very familiar, so I'm sure I knew Eddie.
Yeah, I knew him a little bit, and just a wonderful person. I don't know his history per se. I think we have a little bit. Actually, we do have it in there. I should have everything memorized.
Oh, yeah, right. After how many pages here?
There's 380.
Yeah, right.
But he played here for quite a while, and but he wasn't from the area, and that's one thing we tried to focus more on musicians who not necessarily were from here and made their mark elsewhere, but actually left a mark here. So,
Sure.
I mean, there are a lot of people, celebrities, you could say, well, they were from New Bedford.
Yeah.
But our focus was more on people who played in New Bedford, with the exception of people like Paul Gonzalez. But he always came back and played here.
Yeah.
Eddie Stack came from somewhere else. Bobby Green came from somewhere else.
Sure.
But they left an important part of their own, cultural contribution.
And
here.
today we have the Jackie Santoses and
Yeah.
families that, Tavares brothers.
Yeah.
And so many.
And they still play here. They made, in the case of Tavares, they made a big smash nationally, but they never lost their roots or their connection
Right.
to New Bedford.
That's right, absolutely. We're with Joe Thomas, publisher of Spinner Publications. Folks, we're going to take a quick break and tell you where you can get your copy. It's finally out. And we'll tell you where you can get your copy of what you've been waiting for, A Picture History of New Bedford, Volume 2, 1925 through 1980. In just a moment, when we return, don't go away. Delighted to have Joe Thomas, publisher of Spinner Publications, with us, and it is finally here. And we want you to rush out and buy a copy. This makes a great Christmas gift. It makes a wonderful addition to your collection already, ladies and gentlemen. It is The History of New Bedford, Volume 2. Where can we buy it and when?
Okay, the 18th is when we put it in the stores. We're having a book launch at Gallery X on Thursday, late afternoon, evening, from 5 to
This
9.
Thursday?
This Thursday, day
Okay.
after tomorrow. And that's, because the book's arriving like Wednesday night, so we're going to put it together and have this event on Thursday. So we want to introduce the book at this event, and then as quickly as we can, we're going to get it out to the many stores who are helping us circulate the book.
And can you name some of those stores?
I can. Of course, I'll probably forget.
Oh, that's all right. We'll go
But
down.
here in Fairhaven, we have Gotta Have It.
Yeah.
Over here in East Fairhaven, we have Phoenix
Yeah.
store down in the center of town. I think that Fairhaven, maybe one or two more. And then in New Bedford, of course, downtown, we'll have it at Moby Dick, the Whaling Museum. Up the north end, we have Barassa Hardware.
Sure.
It's been really wonderful to us.
Oh, you're kidding me? Great family.
Yeah, and the Surrey shop at the far north end. Joel's had it
Oh,
for years.
Joel, yes.
We have it at Big Value Outlet in the south end. We really had trouble finding a south end store, and we got together with the Talbots, and they've been very generous to take it and show it there at their store.
Well, I'm sure now that you're on the radio, somebody may call from the south end and say, Joe, I'll sell those at my store.
You know what? That would be okay. We don't want to oversaturate the book, but we're looking for people who want to show it. And, there's a good profit in this book for retailers.
There you
We
go.
give a good discount to resellers.
Beautiful.
The book sells for $40, so they're making good money on it, too.
Okay.
And, you can sell a lot of these books.
Joe, earlier you were mentioning the fire room in the old Olympia Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And online we have one of our regular listeners who remembers those days of wrecking it very clearly, right?
Yeah, right, Phil. I can remember it like it was yesterday.
What do you
Hit it
remember?
Right on the nose. I was watching them when they were knocking down that Olympia Theater. They had a wrecking company there with a wrecking ball on a cable, and they were whacking that thing and that wall and barely taking chips out of it. I remember they brought in the next day a larger ball, detached the other one off the cable and attached the new one, and they still had all kind of trouble to knock that wall down. And like you said, it was days went by before they even got a good-sized hole in it.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember the exact same thing. And the hole got finally when they got the hole in there, then every day the hole got a little tiny bit bigger and a tiny bit bigger.
Exactly, and that was one of the most beautiful theaters.
Mm-hmm.
The inside of that theater, when you walk through the doors in the front, was amazing with the Shangri-La lighting and the carpeting, and marble columns. It was unbelievable. So when I heard that, I had to call and
Thank you.
brought back memories.
Thank you so much.
All right, Phil. Take care.
Bye-bye
You know,
now.
we have a couple of interiors. We have a picture of the graduation class of New Bedford High School, 1968, I believe, which is one of the very last classes to have their commencement at the
Really?
theater. And they would walk down William Street. We have a picture of that, led
Yeah.
by Eddie Harrington.
Yeah.
And they're on their way. Then we have them inside with their caps and gowns. And you see the inside of the theater and the balcony in the background. A wonderful theater.
Here are things you won't see today, folks. The fast draw contest at Common Park in 1964. It looks like Gunsmoke.
Yeah.
All right, two kids with cowboy hats on, drawing their toy guns. Which one drew the faster?
Can you imagine doing that today?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
There's something else on the other page of this fabulous publication that you need to have in your home, and that is boxing taught at the, was it the YMCA
Yes,
back then?
yes.
There must be at least 24 youngsters.
Yeah. Oh.
Boxing was very popular as a sport in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, all the way, Phil, to the teens, the and even turn of the century. Boxing was big in places like New Bedford, where, and especially in the hard times, when people were out of work, a lot of young men found a way to just make a few bucks.
Right.
We had many Golden Gloves fighters. We have a whole piece on that, by the way, earlier in the book on boxing. In fact, we have, I think, 2 pieces on it. And some of the early boxers. Personally, I interviewed Jimmy Connors, and we did a little thing on Jimmy Connors, which was a wonderful interview, by the way. Jimmy,
he's so colorful, huh?
He's a great person to interview.
He is.
Wish you could have done a little more on him, but he provided some nice stories in history.
Yeah. Joe Thomas with us. This is a must-have publication. Joe publishes and preserves history. That's what he does at Spinner Publications. We honor him and Jay Avila and Sue Grace, everybody, everyone there. Let's take another quick phone call or two. Hello there.
Hello.
Hello there, Stella.
Yeah. In the 30s, I was just a teenager. At the New Bedford Theater, they used to have amateur hours on Wednesdays.
Yeah.
Amateur hour.
Yeah, on
There you
Wednesdays.
There you
And
go.
one of my friends, she won singing.
Yeah, they did
Our prayer. She sang our prayer.
Thank you so much for that, Stella. Thank you, darling. Appreciate hearing from you.
They had a lot of things. They had cooking classes. They had a lot of these community programs. One picture we have, there's a fundraiser for the United Way, a community fund.
Right.
And they had all local people up there doing, Rockettes dances and just a lot of fun. The theaters were really a place for community
Really?
programs, and it wasn't just about Walt Disney and movies and stuff.
Right,
but
right.
They were venues for entertainment locally as well, music too.
And there's a certain place in the South End, Victory Park, they were ice skating
Oh
at?
yeah, we have that nice shot of them ice skating at the.
How many of you remember that, folks? Good morning and welcome. Joe Thomas is on with us. Hi.
Good morning, Phil. It's Marilyn.
Hi, Marilyn.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
I just want to say 2 things. One, I want to say thank you for giving the name of Ben Schneider because it was driving me crazy. I used to cash his checks at the First National Bank
Oh, my gosh.
when he worked for the TV station.
Oh, that is funny.
So I appreciate you
Yeah.
coming up with his name, you
Yeah.
know. And the other thing is skating at Victory Park. That was my place.
God. Oh, my
I grew-
goodness.
I
Huh?
grew up in the south end of New Bedford. I used to walk down there, and I have a photo, my gosh, of my grandmother in her fur coat.
Oh,
with me.
yeah.
I was 13, and I was on the pond there skating. Oh, my gosh. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, and all of our best to you and Chuck.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks,
and you
darling.
Too.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Actually, bye-bye, sweetheart. It was a caller who phoned in Ben Snyder's name. Hello there, caller.
Yes.
Hi.
If you have any pictures of the drum and bugle corps.
Okay,
Yeah, there were
very
2.
good question.
I think we have 2 in this book. We have there are different drum and bugle corps. The Whaling City Drum and Bugle Corps we have, and also the, I think, Cape Verdean Drum and Bugle
Yeah,
Corps.
so was there one that you were looking for in particular, sir? Okay.
And
well,
we may even have a third one.
yeah, I just went by it just a second ago. Folks, you must get this. It is a beautiful addition to what you already have. It's a picture history of our past, of our story here.
We tried, and we're very, I think, successful in identifying people in the pictures, almost, especially in later days. But even early on, we list everyone's name in it that we could. So musical bands, even church groups,
Right.
dinners, events. We tried to list everybody that we could in the pictures.
And you also have lots on transportation in this wonderful publication. I'm looking at a picture here, Joe, of trains, passenger service on the Old Colony Railroad line. And earlier, during the break, I was asking Joe whether the Old Colony hangar at the municipal airport, if they were connected at all, whether it was the same company or just coincidence.
That's a tough question. I don't think it was, but it may have been. But the Old Colony had a terminal. It was like it was a hangar.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was related to the railroad. It was an airlines related company. But it might have been.
So this is coming out Friday. Officially at stores around here. We'll have all of the stores posted at WBSM.com. We'll have this video posted also that Dan is recording right now.
You know that picture that you had of the railroad, though. There are two interesting photos on that page. One was it's the last ride of the street railway, and the guys getting off the train for the very, very last run.
No kidding.
And the other one is the train to Boston with very few passengers. And I think it's a newspaper photo, and the paper was doing a story on how the train was not being ridden.
Sure.
And as a result, the low passenger service, that they were going to terminate the service, and that photo is nice for that purpose, I think. And we were able to find pictures of the train in its last days and what the depot looked like.
Yep, and you'll see photos of the Depot Cafe, Lorraine's Coffee Company, inside the Bridge Diner on Pope's Island.
Yeah, those are great shots.
And don't forget the lunch counter and fountain at Freeman's Pharmacy on Purchase Street back in the 50s.
Photo?
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, Ray and Joe's there.
Ray and Joe's Delicatessen on William Street in their bow ties, and the swivel seats are all shiny. And oh my gosh,
I love
an
interiors,
absolute.
Phil. I just love interior photos. So we were able to find a lot of fun interiors.
Yeah, this is a must-have, folks. I mean this, and it's out this Friday. Joe, let me give you the last word here, and I don't know how to convey thank you in words. I just know that in our hearts we're so very grateful for who you are and what you do, buddy.
As a last word, Phil, I too am thankful to so many people who came forward with photographs, like Bella Livramento, David Rees. So many people lent us their collections. We thank them in the book. And without that personal touch, really, it's not the same. I mean, newspaper photos are great, but it's the personal photos. A lot of those music pictures we have all came from private collections.
Right.
Great stuff. So I'm thankful, really, to a lot of people in New Bedford for helping us out with this.
Thank you so much, Joe. All the very best. A great Christmas present.
It is, so don't hesitate to get out there.
That's right.
It could be gone.
That's right. The History of New Bedford, Volume 2, finally here, with all of its history and all of its gorgeous memories. Thank you, Joe. Thanks to Jay, to everyone at Spinner Publications.